Hi everyone. So in this one, we are going to be building a multiple choice question and answers program with Python. It's not something that goes too far. It's going to be a command line program where the participant chooses from options and the program marks the multiple choice after the participant is done with the exam. So it's actually a very good project for you to munch on, whether you are just getting started or just looking for a project to build along while learning Python. Um, so without much speech, let's get started. So I'll just open my command line and make a new directory. Let's call the directory multiple choice, and cd into multiple choice. Then we will create a Python file. Let's call that choice.py to handle our code. Now let's open VS Code to our project directory. So the first thing that comes to my mind is to create a class called multiple multiple choice. Okay, so this class is going to do a lot of things. It's going to actually have methods that handles questions, a method that also handles the choices, the answers, and all that. So the first thing, let's initialize function init and then pass. So let's create a first method to undo the questions. So our questions are actually going to be in an array. So uh, what I can think of is that we're going to have an array, and inside of, let me call it a dictionary. So it's going to be like a dictionary of dictionaries where the key of each question is going to be an integer, right? So that we can actually trace or track each question individually or track them properly, right? So I'm going to have self dot, let's call that questions underscore data, and we'll have an array. Okay. So another one is that we're going to create a method that actually handle choices. Let's call that choices, and it's also going to be self, and have self dot choices data. Yeah, I think that's a very good name to call that. So choices data. So let's fill in the questions. So like I said, the questions are going to be an array of arrays. So the key to each question is going to be an integer from number one to whatever or wherever you want to go. So the first one is one. I have an array, and the first question, let's say question. So each of this question is going to have its own answer, right? So each question and the other one inside the same dictionary is going to be the answer to that question. Okay, so let's say we ask question, what is F? Okay, comma, we have answer to that question. Let's use capital letter. Answer to that question is a planet. Okay, so the choices for this particular question will have different choices. So the choice is going to be equivalent to, like, it's going to be like, for the number of questions we have inside the questions data array, we are also going to have the equal number of choices for all those questions. So we have one is, let's say, the choices for this one is A. So let's pick, say, non-habitable. gonna be table. Yeah, and comma B is, let's say, planet. Let's give B the right answer. So C is gonna be like plane land. Yeah. So next one, sorry, the next one. Let's call it what can we use? What can we use? Just say just a place, something like that. Just a place. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pause the video and create more questions. All right. So this is the right answer. So for each option, we know how multiple choice questions are like. Each of the option actually has a particular correct answer. So we'll have to pick from the participant or the exam taker will have to pick from the options. So I'm gonna pause the video and create more questions and more options. All right. Okay, so I'm done adding more questions. So we have number one, question two, three, and four. So each of the question has a key, and the key is actually the number, the question number, and also the same goes with the choices, so that we can actually map each of the choice. For question one, the choices are these, and the answer to question one is actually planet. The same thing goes for question two, and like that. So it's actually an array of or a dictionary of dictionaries, right? So this dictionary choices data, we can access it by saying something like, okay, you can access it by saying something like um, self dot questions underscore data, and into, let's say, the first one we can access it by saying one, all right, and then we can access the questions by saying questions. Okay, but we're not going to do that. What we want to do is we want this method, each of these methods, to return back the array of the question and the array of the choices. So self return, so it's going to return self dot questions data, and this also is going to return self dot um, choices data. Choices, all right, choices data. Okay, so don't forget this is a dictionary containing other dictionaries. Okay, so the next thing that comes to mind is to create a function that sorts the question, that actually gets the current question for each uh, of the choices. Right, okay, let's do that so that it's not confusing. So I'm going to say define current um, questions, let's call it current underscore questions, and into self. So this is going to accept the question underscore number. So what does question underscore number does is actually how we're going to filter through each of the questions. When you say, let's see, when you say something like questions. So we're going to have question equals self dot, we call the method, which is the questions method, which returns an array. I want to say questions. This returns an array, and the array it returns questions. We can access the array by saying question into one, like I did earlier, and when we say question into one, it returns the first question. All right, this question: what is a planet? What is Earth, or something? And we can access that. We can access the question for that first question by saying we want the question out of this place. We don't want the answer, right? We don't want the user to see the answer yet. So we want the question, but instead of having one in here, so that we can actually reuse for the usability, okay, and because we might be changing things later on. So we just want to have question number inside this list. Okay, so I will return the question. You will see how we're going to use this data. So the next thing I want to do is actually to also get the current choices. Yeah, underscore, let's call that current underscore choices, and also have self. That's also going to accept the question number, and then have choices. Okay, and have self dot choices into this is just going to be we actually want to return each of these choice. Like we want to return each of the choice. We don't want to have A or B or something. We don't care about that. We want it to return something like this, something like A. The answer, the option is planet, and all that. We want to return planet A and second one B, just like normal CBT or computer-based test question. So we all we just need is to actually get question number. Okay, because for instance, when we see choices into one, that's going to return the first question. We see choices into two, it's going to return uh, the second one, right? So return return correct return choices. Okay, so after returning choices, let's test. Let's see what choices actually returns. Let's create an instance of our class. Say print multiple choice, an instance of it dot current choices. Let's see what that returns. Let's return for one. For instance, let's start terminal, a new terminal. And from here, we say Python choices dot py. That returns no such file. Oh, sorry, choice dot py, not choices dot py. Non-type is not subscriptable. How does it say non-type is not subscriptable? Okay. All right. So what's actually happening is that we're not returning self the choices data. So we need to call return here. And well, let me change this to current question, current choice, actually, and instead of calling current choice here. So we were not returning self the choices data. We just had self the choices data. So it's actually going to return none. So let's run that again and see what happens. So okay, yeah, we still need to have question number here. So we have question number. All right, so to return the first choices, we're gonna have second question numbers, and we're gonna have the choices here. Sorry, so we're gonna have choices here, and if you change this to number 4, we're gonna have the fourth set of choices. Okay, that's how this works. And we see Europe, Asia, and this is it. Okay, for the fourth question. The same thing goes if we call here, instead of saying current choices, we call current question. And we say we need the fourth one. Let's say where is Nigeria? That's the fourth question. Okay, so we have actually mapped each of these choices with the questions inside the questions method. Okay, so I'm just going to comment this out. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out, and actually these choices, we don't want it to come out this way. We don't want it to come out as a dictionary, right? We want it to come out like we said earlier. like something like want to come out as A, Europe, and B, Asia, whatever we have, like that. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna iterate through the choices, and then we say for we want. So it means that each of this key is going to be like um, the lead on each of the values. So it's very straightforward. Key value, and so key value, and in choices dot item, it's gonna be items, and what we want to do is actually to get to yield. So we want to turn this into a generator. Okay, you will see where we're going to use it later. And this is going to be F, because if we don't turn this into a generator, if we run this code, it's actually going to return. Um, it's not going to return. If we just run return like this, you'll see what will happen. Let's try it. Let's run return and say key and dot, and we have the value. Okay, so this is returning as we want it to return, but then still let's run current choice, and let's run it here, and we have Europe. It's actually not returning everything we want it to return, so we need to yield, right? So this becomes a generator, so that we have an iterable function, and if you run it now, it's going to return a generator. Okay, so that's what we want. So when we want to access it, we can iterate through the current choices method directly. So I'm just gonna, comment this out. And the next thing I'm gonna do after this is that I'm gonna create a sort of something that gets the current question, the current answer, depth, just as if just the same way we got the current question. It's going to be easy. Let's call that current underscore answer, and self, that's also going to accept question underscore number, and have answer equals self dot question. So this time I'm going to have question number, but this time it's going to be question, it's going to be answers, right? Answer, and not going to be question. Okay, so it means this is going to return the answer for each of the question, okay, based on the question number, uh, where the exam taker is currently. So say return answer, and the next thing we want to do is actually to check uh, whether the user has chosen the correct option or not. Okay, so this is going to be a bit tricky, but not too much. Let's put that check underscore answer, and there say self. This is also going to accept question number. Okay, so the question number is actually very important here. We say um, check answer before. Okay, let's pass this. Before we can create check answer, we also need a function to actually check the option. So I'm going to call that option checker. Option checker, what it's going to do is that instead of, the user picking, we need the user to actually select either A or B. We don't need them to type in the entire answer like Europe, Asia, or whatever. We just need them to select A, B, C, and D, so the program checks if it's correct or not. So we have question underscore number. So from here, we're going to extract the choices. So from here, we extract the choices. And say self dot choices. We're going to call them. We call them from the choices method, and here we'll have the here we have question number. Question number. All right. So we also need to sort out the question or the answers. So answer equals self dot current. I love me some spaces. Self dot current, the current answer, which is actually what we got from this class up here, and that's going to be into question number. All right. So this is actually going to return the answer to the current question. Okay. So we now want to check our we want to check the answer that the user has picked against the key, which is like either A, B, C, or D. We want to ensure that once the type B, it's mapped against the correct answer. Or once the type an option, it's mapped against the correct answer. So we say for key, comma value in choices up here, the items will have if the value, that means um, the value equals the value for this key here is equal to the answer, right? Equals the answer. Yes, I think that should be correct. Um, value equals the answer. Okay, value is yeah. If value equals answer, then return the key. Return is spelled. So after that, we don't have we are now returning the key. So we'll also divide function. For instance, if I want to run this now, and let's see what that returns. Option checker, option checker, option checker, option checker. I hope this doesn't backfire, and I run it. Multiple choice has not attribute question. Give me questions. I think where is that coming from? Question number line 76. All right. It's actually questions into um, it's a function of questions. All right. Let's run that again. What's happening? All right, sorry. So this is actually it's not supposed to be like this. It's not supposed to be inside parentheses. My bad. So let's see what this does, and we have what we want to do is option checker, and we'll run this. Let's run and see. Okay, so it's returning C, which is actually the correct option for the fourth question. Let's see the first question. is what? Where is Nigeria? Oh, Africa, right? Yes, so we are getting the correct option for each of the questions. That's actually very essential. So now we want to check the answer, right? So this is where we check the answer. And for the answer, we're just going to say, let's just comment this out. For the answers, we need to get the question number from the option checker. And the first thing we do is answer equals, say answer self dot option checker. And then we have question number. We need to get the right answer rather from the options checker. And we now say we need an input. We also need an input from the user. For instance, when the user types, when the user says, okay, I want to get this. Uh, so answer is actually getting the correct option or the correct answer from the questions array. So we will say we need an input. We need an input. We can just come up here and pass the input up here and say that self dot. We also need to actually track the score. So probably create two attributes here. The first one is going to be self dot score. That's going to be an integer, and this is not necessary, but then just for documentation purpose, an integer, and we need self dot answer input. That's the answer the user is going to enter. Input is string, and yeah, that's going to be an empty string. Now let's go down. Let's go back to where we were coming from. Okay, so we say if self dot answer inputs, we want to check if the input of the user is correct, equals the answer returned by our question array or question dictionary, then self dot score equals plus equals to 1. Add 1 to the initial score, which was 0, if the answer to the question is correct. Right? So, and after that, return self dot score. Okay. So the last thing we're gonna do, last is we're gonna undo the questions. We're going to create like a question handler that will print out the questions iteratively to the users. So all in all, we have 4 questions. We don't need to bother about how many questions we have. But what we just need to do is that for the number of questions we have, we are going to iterate, and Python is actually going to print that to us in the command line, and will answer each of them. Each of them requires an input. That's the correct option. If you enter the wrong option, it's going to like not add up to anything. So let's call that dev uh, function undo. Let's say undo underscore questions and self, then question underscore number. This also requires the question number, and say for I in a range the number of questions that we have, starting from 1 to length of self dot question, since we are going to iterate through the length of the questions method, and that's going to be +1, because this if we have 2 items inside the dictionary, this is actually going to return, if we don't add one to it, it's going to return only one item. So that's not going to work. So we just have plus one. Let's do it like this. And so that this, if we have one, if we have two items, it's going to actually add up to two, the exact number of the items in the series. Okay. So say print self dot current question into I. All right. That's for each of the question number. You're going to output the questions. Okay. So the next thing we want to do, we want to also print the choices. But choices, remember, is a generator. Where is choices? Yeah. So choices is actually a generator function. So it's using yield instead. So we have to iterate through that method to print the choices the way we want it. So we're gonna say for choice in self dot current, I think current choices. Yeah. We have I for each of the choices inside the current the choices array. We'll say print choice. Okay. So after this, come out of the loop. Say we call self dot answer input so that the user can input their answer. So this is going to be an input, right? And we have self, and we call self dot check answer for each of the questions. And after the whole thing, we print something like let's use X string here. Print something like your total score is self dot check underscore answer and to question depending on the question number we have. All right. So this self dot check answer is actually going to execute for each loop and add up the self dot add up this to the score, to the initial score that we have. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to comment this now and run the function. Let's pray it works. Hopefully everything is all right. So last thing I'm going to call is call handle questions. So we are going to choose to start from question number one. All right. So we don't need to print because we already said print. We already called print here. All right. Let's test our let us test our multiple choice question. Okay. Choice the PY. The first question: what is hard? We choose A, which is planet. So you can see that all our options are coming out the way we actually intended. So we have A, non-habitable, B, a planet, C, a plain route. So I'm going to choose A for this. And it continues down the road and it goes from the first question to what is hard and what is a worm. And the answer to that is an animal. Yeah, that's C. Oh, I chose the wrong answer for the first question. That's A. Oh, a planet. I confused them. So it's actually B. The first is B. So missed the question already. Let's see. What is a chair? A chair is what what what's the answer? A chair is of that. A chair is an object. That's B, right? And the last one, where is Nigeria? Nigeria is in Africa. So what do I get? I get, did you me check answer? I made a mistake. check answer, not check answers. Sorry, so all that effort to run our code, check answer, check answer, check answer, check answer. Yeah, not check answers actually, check answer. So we are gonna start again. So the first one, planet, let me choose the right answer this time. And the second one, it's an animal. Third one, what is a chair? Chair is an object, P. And the fourth is, where is Nigeria? Is in Africa. Where is this coming from? Oops, oops, not check answer. Check check answer. Oh my god. All right. So let's try it again. So first is B, and second one is an animal. What is a chair? An object? That's B. And where is Nigeria, Africa? So your total score is 4. What if I miss like 2 questions? I have the first one I choose A, the second one I choose D, and the fourth one I choose what is a chair and object? The correct answer. And the fourth, I say I choose C, which is like Nigeria. Your total score is 2. So that's it, guys. That's how you create a multiple choice. Just like created a multiple choice uh, question and answer program using Python, and you run it via the command line. So if you want to scale this up, you're free to do so. You can actually do something like writing this into an external file, like maybe, or calling the questions from an external file, storing the question and the choices, the question and answer and the choices in an external file, and calling them from here. Or you can actually use a database to store this if you want. So database bases like MongoDB, uh, no, that's NoSQL and SQL like uh, Postgres will work. And if you want to scale this up to maybe do it in a server side, or like you want to use some sort of API to handle this, you can use Fast API, you can use Django, you can use Flask, or any framework that is right to you. But this is just the basics, all right? So instead, in that case of calling directly from here, you're just going to call from the database. You're just going to call the questions from the database, and you're going to sort it this way and do your thing. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you gained 1 or 2 things from this tutorial. If you love the tutorial, please don't forget to put a like on this, and more importantly, subscribe to my channel for more. All right, thank you everyone for watching. Bye bye.